on December the 12th, I woke up at 2:40 in the morning after a dream, and I just, like as always, I just began, journaling it out, and this one, Steve, I saw the Lord, and I was with him. I was with him in a valley.
Can I ask you before you jump in very far now, as we're hearing this, even though it was a dream, was it an occurrence that was actually also happening? You know what I mean? Was it real as well?
It was real as well. I was there. Okay. I was in it. I was there in it. Again, you could feel the humidity in the air. You could feel it kissing your skin.
Sure.
And, I'm in this, basically it was like a large pasture that was, leading into this rough mountainous terrain. And there I am with the Lord, and he was dressed in a white robe, and he had his shepherd's staff. And there was a massive flock of sheep that he'd been holding in a field, and part of it was fenced. They were kind of being brought in, and he was holding all of these sheep in this field. And we walked up to this gate, together. And he looked at me and he says, "Barry, this is the time we've all been waiting for." And, he leaned over to the gate and he said to me, "Barry, this is my gate. And those who want to enter and come with me, now can only come through me from here on. There's no other way but through me." Oh. And Steve, I knew the heart of the shepherd. I knew the heart of the Father, that he knew by the Spirit. I knew that he knew each and every one, every sheep that was there gathered. He knew their story. He knew everything that they had been through. He knew that, some of the dry pastures that they'd been in. He knew some of the hard times, all of the hard times they'd been through. I mean, he just knew them through and through, and his love for them was just off the charts. And I could see, in the sheep, the trust and the desire that, and their love for their great shepherd.
Nice.
And they were there. There would be no other one that they would follow. And they were a tight flock, and they were all very special to him, and they all wanted to be as close. Like they would follow him wherever he would lead. Nice. And he said to me, "Times as you have known them are about to change forever.
Wow.
For where I'm taking you now, no one has ever been, nor have they ever imagined it possible." So I'm standing there, and, he's ready to open this gate, and all of a sudden I see half a dozen Roman soldiers show up on horseback, kind of where this gate is. And they were dressed, they had, red and leather kind of uniforms on, and, metal plates, and they had these helmets on with kind of these brushed, things on top. They had, these red capes.
Can I ask you a quick question? Is the whole dream and encounter set back in that time period, or are you modern days, but the Roman soldiers are there?
This was like the Roman soldiers were there. I was back in that time period.
Okay.
Took
you back in time.
Is kind of what it felt like.
Wow.
And they had swords on their sides.
Wow.
Now these soldiers, they had been okay with the sheep just being held in that field, but now they were a little bit concerned that they were being led out and they were being moved. That they were no longer being tamed, but being released for this moment in time. Well, and I saw this narrow path that led from the small gate of the shepherd, the Lord, and, that led in through, the edge of the pasture into this mountainous terrain. And I could see that this path, led into kind of a sort of a narrow crevice in the rock that was a narrow passageway. It had tall walls, very craggy and rough. Yeah. And the Lord looked at me and said, "Well, here we go. Let's do this." He looked over and he matter-of-factly unlatched the gate, swung it wide, gave a look back over the flock, gave a whistle, and just with a determination in his step, I mean, he stepped out and he started to walk down this path to lead the way. And I knew right then and there that we were all going to be okay. Now, I knew that the path that laid ahead would not necessarily be an easy one. In fact, I knew it was going to be actually a rough path. But I also knew that we were going to be all right, and we were going to make it. And then as he led the way and he headed out, the flock, they immediately followed, and they kind of had a bounce in their step. There was movement. There were things happening. And the Roman soldiers, they stood off to the side watching what was happening. There was absolutely nothing that they could do to even come close to stopping this.
Were they wanting to stop it?
Well, my impression, Steve, was in the past and over time, they had a resistance to the body coming into the fullness of their call and what they're being led into. And so with all the shenanigans that have been going on over the last, decades and years, there's been this restriction. And so now with the move of the Father, there was nothing that they were going to be able to stop this. So I look back over this flock, and there were millions, honestly, as far as my eye could see. And they were still gathering. They were still coming in from every direction. I mean, it was a sight to behold. And to me, it was a call of harvest, a call of the body gathering into the purposes of, and this was more than a remnant. This was a movement within the body that is going to be tremendous.